Hi there, I'm James Osborne, the co-founder of the Recruitment Network, and this is the TRN Podcast. Every week, we unpack the strategies, the technologies, the processes and mindsets fueling today's top-performing recruitment agencies. We take a look behind the scenes of some great recruitment businesses. We listen to the real-life stories of those who have built those businesses, and we learn from some of the industry's greatest thought leaders to help you become both future fit and future relevant. So let's begin with this next episode of the TRM Podcast.
Very warm welcome to everybody. Great to have you on board this Thursday afternoon, and welcome to my special guest, Jamie Burrows. I'm hoping you know Jamie. If you don't, we've been working with Jamie for a number of years now. He is absolutely, without doubt, the trainer who has the biggest impact on performance, profitability, and productivity. As a trainer, does some fantastic work with recruitment businesses of all sizes. So we just thought it would be a great opportunity to get Jamie to share his experience and his views of where we are leaving money on the table and what are the root causes behind that. So Jamie, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
How are you finding things out there in the big bad world?
It's been, I think that the market is what it is. How am I finding things? I think things are starting to look up. I think there's signs of positivity. I think the people that are doing the right things are starting to get better results than maybe what they were getting. So yeah, things are positive. I think optimistic and positive.
Fantastic. Yeah, I had a CEO peer group this morning, 12 CEOs spending 90 minutes together, sharing ideas and looking at some principles and concepts and benchmarking how we're all doing. When I left it, in terms of how they felt about 2026, 70% of them felt excited. And the excited ones are the ones who've made the shifts internally or in terms of external focus. You spend your time helping recruitment individuals, teams, businesses, really drive up productivity and performance. So what are for you the big three? If we just focus on three, what are the big three things that which are the causes for hidden leaks?
I think if there was three, I think there's things that you can do like straight away, and maybe where people leak revenue, I suppose, is the word you used. I think the first thing is probably not reselling to existing clients. There's across like every business we're working with at the moment, there's a focus on business development, and typically when you start talking about business development, it's new business development, and I think that's sometimes things that get missed is selling to existing clients. Like it's far easier to sell to someone that's already buying from you or has bought from you previously. And it's easier in terms of relationship, but also like if you're selling to bigger businesses, red tape and all that, like procurement blockages, like it's easier to sell into those businesses if they've already buying from you or have bought from you in the past. So I think that's probably the first thing is reselling to existing clients and absolutely maximizing every single relationship. And by that, I mean cross-selling across your business, like across their business. BD is a bit of a team sport. So I think that's probably the first thing.
Can we just delve into that a little bit?
Yeah.
Because that one, I reckon people on this call, they've probably been in recruitment a while. If you said them, is it easier or more fruitful to sell to existing clients or clients you've worked with in the last couple of years versus new ones? They'd probably all say existing clients on the basis that they've done a good job. So why? What is stopping? And we did a big poll about. We did a number of workshops around account management about 9 months ago with all our members, just looking at all the things that were really working. We shared those. The big things that came out that people recognised, and there must have been 300 members coming on this, the things that people recognised that were falling short, they were all looking after clients, but when it came to structure, process and strategy, they were missing. So in your experience, where's it going wrong? Is it a management call? Is it individuals not doing the things they should be? What's
I think it'd be all of the above. So you just said there we're really good at looking after customers. We've probably got more account managers as a job title now in recruitment than we've ever had. And I'm not sure I don't believe I don't think people should be managing accounts. I think that the main part, we can call them that outwardly, but actually they should be account expanders. Like that should be their job I'll look after the roles that come from, but actually a large part of my job is to expand that account and make sure that we know all the different buyer types, all the different divisions and sectors, and that we're selling into all of those. And I see that across lots of businesses, whether and then that comes from the top down. It comes from, like you said, is that a management thing? Yeah, absolutely. It should be probably driven by the leadership in a business. But there's also like a consultant level responsibility to do that as well.
Yeah. And is that competency, or is that not wanting it enough, not recognizing the power of doing this right?
I think it can be both. I think like one of the things that's where you say like, is it not wanting it enough? I'm not sure if it's like just not wanting it enough. And we talk about this thing called the OK plateau, where we often see with recruiters where they reach this OK plateau. We've reached a level that we deem acceptable, and then we stop doing any more. And sometimes that's a conscious thing, and sometimes it's completely unconscious that you go like, and this happens outside of recruitment as well. It happens with skills as well. It's that you go like, I'm good enough at that to survive now.
Yeah.
I don't need to get any better. I don't need to keep learning.
Yeah.
It happens in business. You go like, that's good enough. I'm billing 200 grand or whatever the number is. Like that will do. And sometimes people voice that outwardly, and they'll go, yeah, no, do you know what? Good is good enough for me. This is enough. And sometimes it's not. It's a completely unconscious thing.
Why aren't enough people doing service reviews?
My honest answer, and some people disagree with this, I think most people aren't doing it because they've never done it. They've never done a service review. We have client meetings, and we do that to onboard clients or to pitch to them, and then after that, we just don't do them. I also think there's a big line in the sand in COVID, wasn't there? We moved everything online, and like 7 years ago, this would have been an in-person thing, wouldn't it? We would have been in a room somewhere doing this, what we're doing now. And I think because it's easier just to jump online, people maybe don't do that. Yeah, I think those are the main things. There's like generally people aren't getting enough face-to-face time with clients, and that's not me bashing anyone. I'm just reporting like what I see.
Yeah.
There's not enough face-to-face interaction.
Totally agree. And the shift we've seen in terms of members reporting the impact of investing in face-to-face and the difference it's been making. In fact, the biggest turnaround strategy for struggling members recruiters this year have been where they've really done what you're talking about properly. Absolutely no doubt, where they've re-nurtured relationships and started again. Love that. Okay, so that's number 2, upgrading existing businesses. Number 3?
Do you know what? I think the third one I would say is client referrals. And so I did this. I was with a group yesterday, and I asked them the question: who in this room? And there's 12 very, very experienced 11 very, very experienced recruiters in that room. And I said, who here has had a client referral? And by that I mean one of your clients has referred you into a new business, and every single person put their hand up. And I said, and how many of you created that? It happened on purpose. You made it happen, or did it happen by accident? And it was every single one of them by accident. I didn't know it was happening. Like, right, first of all, so that's amazing. If people are saying nice things about you in rooms that you're not in, you're winning. But if they're saying nice things about you, like, let's create a system where they do that consistently. And so we go through this process of to get someone to buy from you, you have to get them to know you, like you, trust you, and then they'll buy, right? And then there's a next step after that is refer, which is where most people don't have a system to make that happen. And so that's what we help put them in place. We look for the triggers of like, when do you ask, what does a referral ask actually look like? But I think, do you know what, if you could be as crude as to go to all of your clients right now and say, Gordon, who else do you know that runs a business similar to yours that I should be speaking to that might need recruitment services? Now, I'm not saying to ask it like that, but I think if you did that, you'd probably set up meetings. Like we've all been told, you don't ask, you don't get. And I think that's a big one that lots of businesses miss is clients referring you. People that already like what you do, like referring you into other businesses.
I did some analysis a while back of how much feedback members were getting from their client base. And it was way smaller than it should have been. And in terms of, and it's really, every time I talk to you, there's so much process and structure behind your approach, which I know is why you're as effective as you are. But too few recruiters were actually asking for feedback. And if you don't ask for feedback, if you're, clearly, if you get told you're rubbish, you're not going to ask for a referral. If you don't ask for the feedback, you don't know to what extent they're appreciated or what you do is valued, and therefore that doesn't lead you on to that second question about who do you know. And I have this theory that it's down to the pace pace in which we work, and also because referrals are a bit of a slower burn potentially. But if you turn that into a process that the way I know you do, then that will just churn them out.
Yeah.
Churn them out. I did I had a member who said, I want to be damn good at what I do because I know that's smart business. And I said, well, there's no evidence I can see how good you are. Anyway, within 4 months, they had 500 Google reviews, 4.9. And another member did the similar exercise and he had about 75 video testimonials. They're in Microsoft Dynamics from all over the world. So if people create the process that you're talking about and build it into the system, then you can turn on the tap pretty quick, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So why don't you think from a referral asking, I get what you're saying actually, that all those big billers, all those team you were talking to yesterday, they're getting them accidentally. So again, why are they not asking? Because if you do a great job and ask if they know anybody and you get a referral, that's pretty nice way to do sales. So is that what's behind that?
I think the reason they're not doing it is because it's not an ingrained habit or part of their process, and that's what I mention process all the time. Process
Yeah,
structures around everything that we do, and that's the thing is that, and we look for like the trigger is what we call like a referral moment. So what's the and there's two middle steps to this, right? So this is part of a wider thing, but the habit that we try to create, or the structure we try and give people is get the client to review you, and you can do this in the moment, just like how have you found the process of working with us versus the other, and get them saying nice things. And then we create this referral moment where they're saying positive things, because you're absolutely right. If they're going, well, it was shocking, the communication was terrible, probably not a good move to ask for a referral. But assuming they're saying positive things about you, that's when we get that referral moment. And that should be your trigger to ask. And it's just about creating that as part of your structure of offer accepted, and then we do this bit, and that's it. So I think it's a lack of habit is the
yeah,
reason that it's not
yeah.
happening.
When it comes to structure and process, which is what you're so good at implementing with your client base, what are the 2 or 3 bits of process that are missing? Is it the scorecarding? Is it the questioning? Is it the relationships, the science of relationship? What is it that's missing?
I think it's a couple of things. I think like quite often it's a mapping exercise. Like we said, we see like one point of contact, a single point of opportunity, but therefore also a single point of failure. Like the most dangerous number in any business is one. So having one person that you've got a really good relationship with, or it feeds you all of that business is dangerous. So the first bit is a mapping exercise and looking at like multiple stakeholders. So looking at who's the economic buyer, who maybe I don't speak to regularly, but I need to know who they are and they need to know who I am. Then we have
Yeah,
user buyers, they're typically like hiring managers, and then the technical buyers, the HR people, procurement, that kind of stuff. So the mapping thing. And then just being like it's interesting what you said there about the amount of by the way kind of moments. And that comes from a like just being curious, like asking really good questions and being curious. In fact, in the group I was with this morning, I was talking about I was taught ABC, always be closing. And some people that are old enough will remember that from Glengarry, Glen Ross, and close, always be closing. And
yeah,
I've just removed that completely now from anything I do. And I have this like ABC now is always be curious. Just always be
yeah,
asking really good questions. And if you can just lean in and be curious, like this information ends up coming your way by accident, by default, right? From just leaning in
yeah,
and asking really good questions.
yeah. No, I love that. The other question I encourage people to ask is based on the principle that what we're trying to do is meet or beat expectations every time. Because if we meet or beat expectations, they're going to be feeling good towards us. We can move on to everything that you were talking about there. But the other one I think is really interesting, and I don't think enough people do it, is asking at the beginning of the relationship about expectations. Because if we're working with a client, and I remember when I was the client, if we're working with a client and they're used to different things, or they've worked with recruiters who've given them positive or negative experience, and we can understand what those positive and negative experiences were and what it meant to how they felt about things, then and only then can we actually meet expectations. Because if they're used to getting one little thing that they love, and even if it's something simple like diarising feedback on the candidates or whatever, doesn't matter what it is, but if that is their expectation that you can meet that every time, then you're going to be on the meet or beat expectations piece. So I think the getting the feedback, which is measuring perceptions, we've got to also be measuring expectations, because otherwise I don't know how we meet or beat it every time. Have you just some examples of kind of real world scenario where you've worked with a team and you've worked with a business and they've really recovered it, turned it around in terms of money not being left on the table?
We got a few of these. So we run a 12-week program that like looks at exactly this. And so like in that, for some context, I suppose is important that if we're working with someone for 12 weeks, we have to give them some long-term strategy stuff, and then we
Yeah.
have to get quick wins as well. So it's a combination of both of those. And so one of the first things we look at is re-engaging lapsed clients. So who have you worked with? And we do like a red, amber, green. And so greens might be we've not had any business from them over the last quarter. Yellows or ambers is we've maybe not worked with them for 6 months, and red might be 12 months plus or something. And what we do is we create a 12-step campaign individually for every single one of those clients, based on like context, previous value you've added, all that kind of stuff, who we know. So it's not like a one size fits all. It's not particularly quick. It's not particularly easy. Like there's some thought and effort has to go into this. You can't do what lots of people are doing and chuck it into ChatGPT and go create an outreach sequence for clients that haven't worked with me for 12 weeks. Like you've got to put more effort than that if you want a better result than that. So that's one of the first things we do. And by the way, like that effort piece immediately separates you from like a large majority of the market. Because like you said, some people are shifting and changing the way that they work, and lots of people aren't. So that's one of the first things we look at there to recover that. We look at scorecarding, and we either feed that back or we just get rid of like poor clients. Don't like so many recruiters work for free up until the point of sale, and so many recruiters work for free and never get to the point of sale because they just don't place a high volume of jobs they're working on. So we can remove some of that. We create time. We can reinvest that into winning new business. Another big one in like reclaiming some of that money or getting some of that money back on the table, off the table even, is like lead generation, and lead generation being at the heart of everything that you do, and then using that to inform your business development. And if we had like the last business I ran, we used to have a rule that every candidate interaction must generate a lead. And that was our intention. Anytime we spoke to a candidate, we wanted to get a piece of lead information. And if you spent all morning just doing that, you go, I'm just going to speak to 10, 12 candidates this morning, and I'm going to pull a small lead from every single one of them. Like your afternoon business development's almost taking care of itself because you've got a list of like information and data and signals about what's happening. And then the other thing that we focus on in that program is that all of our outcome objective for all of our outreach is to book a meeting. Because we know, like all of the data shows us that downstream of meetings is revenue. And there's jobs in the middle of that, right? But like that's a massive driver for revenue. So those are the things that we look at in those programs. I think you said like a real world scenario. We've got this got a little video on it, but it's one of the groups we did this with earlier this year. 32% increase in revenue across a team of 6, like 12 weeks compared to the previous 12 weeks. So, but it's just having process and structure around everything that you do, and being consistent with what you're doing.
When you look at a team or a business, how do you assess whether a bunch of individuals are reaching their full potential?
How do you assess a group? So there's 3 things in that, I suppose. There's people, process, and performance. So like, firstly, are the people actually like competent, and like, first of all, have you got the right people in the right places? And I think we're more able to do that now in recruitment businesses, that if someone doesn't have a business development like hunting skill set, maybe we need to shift them into a different role. So are the right people in the right places? And then like the actual people themselves, are they proactive? Are they coachable? Do they take extreme ownership over what they're doing? There's that people bit. Then there's a process. Like, is there you can have great people, but if you haven't got a process for how they should be executing all of this stuff, then you're always going to struggle. So like, this is how we qualify jobs. This is how we control clients' processes. This is like all of that sort of stuff. So that's the next bit. Like, what are the processes? And quite often, again, this is not me bad mouthing anyone or bashing anyone. This is just reporting what I see, is people don't have a clearly defined process for what they do internally. And then the last thing is performance. And like, KPIs get a bad reputation, like they get a bad rap in recruitment, and it's almost seen as a dirty word, but numbers don't lie. And like, going back to metrics And everyone should be able to see in our business that one meeting on average equals 3 jobs, and 3 jobs equals X amount of interviews and X amount of interviews. Like having ratios and metrics for all of that, and monitoring performance based on the numbers. Those are the 3 things that I think of immediately, like in response to the question.
Yeah. When it comes to metrics, a couple of years ago when everybody was having record months and quarters in the post-COVID boom period, a lot of people were joining TRN and saying, I don't do metrics, I don't do KPI, we're not that sort of business. They're all doing them now. Is it the lack of is it cultural thing? Is it leadership thing? Is it lack of available data? I was speaking with a member who just beautifully implemented Power BI into his business, and suddenly the performance data he had, but also his consultants had, meant that they could own the data and own the results. And he'd done it really beautifully, both in terms of the change process, but then also owning it. So where is the nub of it? Lack of data, lack of metrics, or is it leadership and cultural thing?
I definitely don't think it's a lack of data. I don't think data has been so readily accessible in all time. Like most CRMs now will give you pretty much all of the data and metrics and ratios that you need. So I don't think it's that. I think there was a like you said, there was some businesses during COVID when we were careful how I word this, when we were being really considerate of everyone. There was lots of business going, oh, there's no KPI. People would post about it on LinkedIn. We're a no KPI business. And do you know, in fact, I heard Greg Savage say something years ago where he said, saying you're a no KPI business, it is the equivalent of a hospital saying we don't bother counting how many people die here. He said, like, it just wouldn't be acceptable. Like, you don't want people to be a slave to metrics, but we have to have something to measure performance by. And then you can start to see what's in the gap. That if across your business it's 3 CVs to 1 interview, but Johnny over here is sending 12 CVs to get an interview, like there's something in the gap there. Like, what do we need to do to make sure he's better qualifying candidates, or where's the skill gap? So I think often, unfortunately, it's a leadership thing, and maybe not wanting to say, look, this is how we're going to measure success here.
Yeah. So how do you, whether it's the business leader or the team leader, how do you shift their mindset? Because clearly they've built a team to do things in a certain way. How do you shift them?
With evidence and data. So if we go into a business and we say, look, my challenge here is to increase your revenue over the next 12 weeks. But to do that, here's the things that we need to measure between me, or the other Jamie who works with me. So the trainer, the consultant themselves, and a leader in the business. These are the things that we have to measure. And when I say evidence and data, we've got enough other businesses that we can reference and say, you're an engineering recruitment business. Here's 2 other engineering recruitment businesses. These are the levers that we pulled. Like we ramped up this type of outreach, and we moved the client meetings lever. This is something we targeted people on, gave them a metric to hit on a weekly basis, and this was the end result. So that's the saying, and I suppose this is one of the things people get from TRM, right? They get to hear from other recruitment leaders saying, we did this and this was the result. A bit like the example you said there. We've started using Power BI, and this is what we're seeing as a result. So it's modeling success from elsewhere. Success leaves clues, right? So modeling that and putting it into another business.
And that's a wrap for this episode of the TRN podcast. Thank you for listening. And make sure you grab the free episode toolkit. All the links are in the description. And click follow in your podcast app so you can get notified of our next episode. If you want to get more out of your business and your people, then please unlock 30 days from our platform, TRN World, for free. And help yourself to all our training content, our guides, our templates, and peer insights. You can get started at trnworld.com/trial. And finally, if you found this episode of the TRN podcast of use, please share it with your network and tag TRN on any socials with your takeaways. Otherwise, message us directly if we can help in any way. We do reply to every question. Otherwise, we'll see you next week on the next TRN podcast.